Good morning, everybody. My name is Simon Hamilton. I'm the Chief Executive of Belfast Chamber, and you're very welcome to our webinar this morning, which is entitled Digital Connectivity for Business Recovery. And we're delighted to be able to deliver today's event in partnership with Openreach. As we emerge from the pandemic and we're starting to edge towards recovery, it's very, very clear that it has become increasingly clear over the last year or so that a huge part of Belfast's future and our economy will be digital based. Indeed, a survey that Belfast Chamber conducted in conjunction with Bar Media and I was launched this week showed that over the last year, during the pandemic, 2/3 of businesses who hadn't previously sold online have moved online, and 65% of respondents said that the pandemic had accelerated their use of technology. So in many respects, we are all tech businesses now. And that's a subject we're going to explore in a little bit more detail over the next hour, and we're going to place an emphasis on that key piece of enabling infrastructure that is ultra-fast, full fibre broadband. And we're going to do that with the help of Mairead Meyer, who's the Director of Openreach Northern Ireland. And after Mairead has spoken, we're going to talk to a couple of Belfast Chamber members from very different sectors. We're going to talk to Gary McEldowney, the MD of Follow Leisure, and we're going to talk to Gareth Macklin from OB Solutions, two very, very different businesses in very different sectors. We're going to talk about how broadband has been able to help and technology has helped them navigate the choppy waters of the last 12 or so months. But before we begin with Mairead's presentation, we're just going to play a very short video.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you for allowing me to come along this morning to be part of this conversation. And thinking about this, really, this is a conversation that has very much evolved for us all over the last 14, 15 months. And it's one that I have almost broken into chunks in my own head in terms of that first adjustment period for everybody when we moved to working from home, schooling from home, socializing from home was very much about getting connectivity, understanding what tools and apps to use to be able to keep in touch with people. And once we realized it was going to be a much longer term situation that we were all dealing with, it moved into how do we actually survive this? What do we need to help our businesses, our companies actually survive through this? How do we do business? So how do we sell online? How do we take payments? How do we manage deliveries? How do we have that online presence via the digital connectivity that's there? And very much for me now, we're moving into that third element of the conversation and the one that we're going to focus on this morning, and that is about how do we thrive out of this? So as the world is coming back to more normality, and we're starting to see over the last few weeks people coming back to offices, starting to go out for food, drinks, like a nice coffee again. It's how do we take the best of both worlds? So getting back to more normal face-to-face human connections, but also taking advantage of that digital connectivity and the skills and the ways of working that we've acquired over the last 12, 14 months to really thrive and help our businesses grow and develop. And digital connectivity gives us options that we're going to need going forward in the future. And it's about having contingency plans for our business should we ever have to go back into lockdown situations or anything again, that we understand how that works and we don't have to go through that same learning phase again. It also gives us flexibility and adaptability for our businesses in terms of being able to reach out wider to skilled workforces, to operate out of hours and give us that global access that we need. And it really is about giving us all options to grow and develop our businesses over the coming months and years. And overall aim of this is about helping businesses grow and helping Northern Ireland's economic recovery. But before getting into the detail of that, which is the meat of the conversation today, I thought I would just take a couple of minutes to give you an overview of who Openreach Northern Ireland are, as I'm conscious we're a relatively new brand to Openreach or to Northern Ireland. So we are a digital infrastructure provider, and we're Northern Ireland's largest digital infrastructure provider. We build, maintain and manage the infrastructure that is powering the digital economy in Northern Ireland. And although Openreach have only been here since about late 2018, we as a business have actually been operating in Northern Ireland for over the last 100 years, building and maintaining the telecoms network. And our engineers work right across Northern Ireland to deliver better service, broader coverage, faster speeds. And that is both by building that new network and new technology, but also trying to maintain and enhance the network that's already there. We're massively focused on connecting homes, businesses and critical services across the north. And that has never been more important than it was during COVID and during lockdown, where our engineers were designated as key workers and we were working throughout the pandemic to keep people connected. So our broadband and our connectivity went from one of those nice to haves, maybe for surfing in the evening, watching a bit of TV, to being critical to almost every element of our daily lives, homeschooling, home working and home socializing. So that has driven a huge demand into our business that we have been adapting to over the last 12 months. We are a big investor in Northern Ireland. We firmly believe in Northern Ireland and want to continue to play a big part in the economic recovery of Northern Ireland. In the last number of weeks, we have made our announcement that we will be investing 100 million in CapEx into Northern Ireland in the next 12 months. And that will allow us to continue our investment in full fibre network build and maintenance of our existing network. To date, we have passed over 530,000 homes with full fibre broadband in Northern Ireland. So that is 530 homes and businesses that can access full fibre network. And that will continue to develop. We have committed to building to at least another 100,000 homes in the next 12 months, taking us to over 75% coverage right across NI. And to be able to do that, we have to invest in people and skills, which again has economic benefit for us all. So we employ over 1,000 people into our team right across Northern Ireland. And those people focus on building the network for us, rolling that fibre out, and then providing service and maintaining service over that network. And I think last but not least, we are an open access network, so we support more than 660 communication providers right across the UK to sell services over our network, our platform. So we as an Openreach team do not sell directly to customers and businesses. We build a network and then we wholesale our services. So you will engage with a service provider to order a service, pick a package or a bundle or a speed that you want to use over the network. We believe that is very, very important for it to be structured in that way, because it gives a really good service to customers. It protects customers by keeping prices competitive, by keeping service levels high, and it offers choice of supplier, choice of packages for people to be able to pick and use what they want. So that's a whirlwind tour of who Openreach are and what it is that we're trying to do. But I think it'd be worthwhile having a look at now really what it is we're here to talk about this morning, and that is how do we utilise that platform and that digital connectivity to really drive economic recovery for each and every one of the businesses that we work in, but also for the overall good of Northern Ireland. And there's probably a few key advantages that I see that we have, particularly in Belfast and in Northern Ireland over the wider UK, that helps us to do that. So as I've said already, we have 65% coverage already across Northern Ireland of full fibre broadband. So that 65% of all homes and businesses can currently place an order to utilise full fibre broadband. That will be at 75% in the next 10, 11 months. But Belfast is already at 75% coverage. So 75% of all people, all businesses in Belfast and Greater Belfast can already avail of this service. And to try and benchmark that against the other regions of the UK, we're in a really good place. So we are sitting at over 65% coverage versus an average UK-wide coverage of 22%. So we really do have a unique opportunity to push forward with that, to use that as a tool to encourage FDI investment in Belfast and in Northern Ireland, and really be seen as one of those areas that are driving digital connectivity and innovation across the UK and globally. And on top of that, we see real benefits to this full fibre network. So we did some research recently with the Centre of Economic and Business Research, who concluded that a full fibre deployment in Northern Ireland by 2025 would boost the Northern Ireland economy by 1.3 billion. So that would have a significant impact on the economy of Northern Ireland. Not only that, it would increase employment by 1.6%, and it would also deliver economic and social rebalancing by levelling up connectivity. On top of that, the research also showed that having that really good level of connectivity in Northern Ireland would encourage 30,000 people to move here to live and work. That is 30,000 more people that will benefit the economy of Northern Ireland and be contributing to the economy of Northern Ireland. So people that can be mobile in their roles, work remotely, could see real advantages to be being based here because of the great connectivity that they would have, as well as all the other advantages that we, as residents of Northern Ireland, know that we get by living and working here. And the other great stat that I have taken away out of that piece of research was that having that level of connectivity and having it regionally will support 26,000 people to return to work. So as we all know at the minute, there is a challenge to try and help people that are out of the workforce at the minute, maybe because of care and responsibilities, or having to remain close to their home environment, where they don't feel that they can travel for work, or they don't feel that they can necessarily be sitting in a 9-to-5 job. Having this connectivity and having it everywhere really opens opportunities and roles up to people who had felt they were previously excluded from applying. And I think that's what really makes us proud of this investment and what it can deliver, because we do see real advantages to what it can deliver for the economy. I'm conscious that some of you may go, and that's great, but what actually does it do, and what difference can it make for my business, and how can I use it? So when I'm talking about full fibre broadband and the advantages it can bring, probably at the simplest level in this is basically providing a fibre from our telephone exchange the whole way through to your home or your business premises, which gives you really fast speeds, really reliable services, and the option to easily upgrade to faster speeds, higher bandwidths as your business grows and expands. So it's very much a future-proof technology that we see that will deliver everything that our businesses will need for growth over the coming years. And just to give you a few practical examples of how that works, you can order up to a 1 gig service over this network, and for anybody going, what does that actually mean? That's probably about 15 times faster than the average current broadband speed at the minute across the UK. So things will happen 15 times quicker. You will not have the same level of buffering. You'll have much more reliable service. You can cope with multiple devices using the network at any one time. And for any businesses out there that are very used to working with large files and trying to send large files, download large files, we know that can be a struggle at times when you're sitting watching the little circle turn around in the screen and you're going, is this going to send or is it not? So to give you an example, a 1 gigabit file at the minute on an average copper broadband line would probably take about 7 minutes to download. Utilising ultrafast full fibre broadband, you're looking 42 seconds that will have downloaded. So there's a huge shift in performance there in terms of what it can do for businesses and the stability that it can bring in terms of connectivity. And we know as people have become more and more dependent on the network as a way to actually do business and keep their business running during COVID and going forward as well into the new norm, that having that speed of service and reliability of service is absolutely key to what we're trying to do across Northern Ireland. And one of the reasons that I very much wanted to talk about fibre today and the advantages of fibre and what I think it can bring to the economy of Belfast and Northern Ireland is that we're going to see a real shift in technology over the coming years. So as we build out fibre, we are going to start withdrawing copper from the network so that we will be shutting copper down by circa 2025. And to think about this, it's probably quite like the switch over from analog to digital TV that happened over recent years. So as we get high levels of coverage, those copper services will start to be switched off, and we'll be encouraging people to move to the newer, faster, more reliable network that is out there and that has been designed to cope with the needs of modern businesses in terms of how we work and how we communicate with each other. So one of the things that I would very much like to encourage people and encourage businesses to do is to just check what connectivity is available for your premise. Make sure that you are getting the level of connectivity and the speed that's there. At the minute, our investment in our fibre build programme is moving at such a speed that we are bringing on hundreds of businesses and homes a week in terms of passing them with fibre. So I would encourage people to contact their service providers, see what is available, and make sure that you are getting the best service that is out there at the minute. And really do just keep an eye on that one in terms of trying to get in the front foot of the technology move. I think it's better to get that experience and get the businesses moved across before we will see sort of more the withdrawal of some of the copper services in 2025. But for me, I suppose I have to say it's one of the biggest privileges that I have had in my role as Director of Openreach in Northern Ireland is building this network and really seeing how it can change people's businesses, change people's lives, and really have a real impact on communities as well. So very proud to have been supporting this development right across Northern Ireland over the last while, and extremely proud to see the impact that it's had in Belfast, with Belfast rated the third most connected city right across the UK. We're sitting above London in terms of levels of connectivity. And I think the thing for me now is how as businesses do we really take advantage of that platform is there. So as we go back into that new norm of a combination of hybrid working, of still having online services, still doing business online, but also meeting people face to face again. How do we keep that running and get the best out of this network and this digital connectivity to drive better results for ourselves and our own businesses, but also for wider Northern Ireland? So that is a whirlwind tour through what I feel we can gain as a country, as a region, and as a city for digital connectivity. And I think it'd be really useful now. I'm going to pass back to Simon to introduce our guests who are going to be able to chat us through how they have utilised this platform over the last few months and adapted to it.
Mairead, thank you very much for that. And in keeping with the theme, that was a fast run through what Openreach does and providing that essential infrastructure, which is, I'm sure, a subject that we'll touch on later. So thank you for that. I'm going to, as Mairead had said, I'm going to talk to a couple of Belfast Chamber members about how they have been able to use the network and the opportunities that ultrafast full fibre broadband provides to not just innovate within their business, but also, particularly over the last year, to ensure business continuity. So I'm going to go first to Gary McEldowney. Gary is the Managing Director of Follow Leisure. Gary, you're very welcome. Your camera is just coming on there. You've just appeared. Good to see you, Gary. Perhaps for those who don't know you and Follow Leisure, could you maybe start off by just giving us a sense of what businesses you run and operate across the city?
Yeah, of course, no problem at all. So you'll see some of the brand names along the bottom. I, as an individual, probably best known for Slim's Healthy Kitchen. In more recent years, we have opened Output Espresso, which is a specialty coffee shop. We have opened Canteen, another specialty coffee shop, and most recently we've done a brand called Morning Martha, which is a flower shop, brunch, specialty coffee again. So all hospitality, food-led coffee shops, restaurants.
So it's been sorry, go ahead.
No, you're okay, go ahead. So
I was going to say, so hospitality has been a really tough year for you. So I'm sure you're looking forward to getting fully reopened on the 24th.
Yeah, from my perspective, Simon, as a business owner, the hardest part of it all has been the adaptation and the change. So at every turn of events, we've had to kind of pick ourselves up and go, okay, right, how can we move forward in this? So for me, the biggest struggle has been the continuous change. Adapting to the regulations, making sure the communication to the customers are clear, they understand exactly what services we're able to offer, how many people can sit at a table, what you're able to do, what you're not able to do. So for us, that has been one of the biggest challenges, apart from everything else that you're seeing in the media, obviously, about restaurants being closed and restricted and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's been a really, really tough year, but there's you have a lot of great brands, a lot of great venues across the city. You've been opening new ones during the past period, which I think is hugely commendable given the pressures that your business in the sector has been under. The graphic there maybe looks a bit sort of, hard to understand for people who are not familiar with the hospitality business, but maybe could you help us sort of navigate this by telling us, particularly how technology and the businesses use technology and how broadband has played a role in helping you to show agility and be innovative and keep the business going really over the last year?
100%. I probably should have done a slide before this with a bit of a better explanation of who I am. This is straight into the inner workings of the business. So for us as a company, we took hand on heart, we took our connectivity for granted. It was just something that was part of the business. We knew we needed it. You're opening a shop, you set internet and broadband is just something that you have to do. It's a tick box exercise. But we never really realized how important it is. And it is one of the major important utilities for us. For example, if we compare it to gas, if we don't have gas, we can't cook. And what has happened is we realized we completely closed all operations for 3 months. We weren't selling food in any capacity at all. We weren't doing takeaway. We weren't doing anything. And then it got to the point where I had to make a decision that, okay, we're going to have to come out of this in some way. You had talked about me expanding there. I knew obviously that people are always going to want to get back to that social element and are always going to want to get back to eating food and enjoying. So that's kind of why I haven't been afraid to invest. From a connectivity point of view, we anything that we're doing now isn't from a customer perspective, isn't anything new. But what we've done as a business internally, we've adapted everything. So where we took our internet connection for granted before, we've now embraced it. And I originally not took a stance. I was originally of the opinion that we weren't an online business. Absolutely 99% of my trade for the past 6 months has 100% been an online business. So we then needed to, we were always on platforms like Deliveroo, Just Eat, Uber. We had our own online ordering, etc. So we always did have an element of online, but it would have been a very, very small percentage of the business. And it then it was our entire business. So we had to look at that in much greater detail. It was a much bigger focus for us. So one of the things, and what this infographic is about today, whenever we were previously operating as a restaurant, as a bricks and mortar site, it was somebody coming in, asking for a table for 2 people, sitting down, looking at a menu, ordering food. That was 90% of our trade. We weren't like a higher end fine dining restaurant where people do the reservations online. So for us, bar our marketing, there wasn't really an outreach in terms of connectivity before that. So what it came to was it completely flipped on its head, and all of our online channels that were responsible for a very small part of our revenue then became our total revenue source. We had, in each of our sites, we had 12 different ways in which a customer could order. They could order through our own app, they could order through Just Eat, Delivery, etc., etc., etc. That then had to come in and be handled by an individual member of staff. That individual member of staff then had to manually key that in, put it into the kitchen, etc., etc., etc. What the infographic today shows is we basically brought in technology, and from customer to kitchen, there's no human interaction now. That's all done completely through. So we've done a bit of work on our internal network. We upgraded our till systems. We're using what's called an omni-channel ordering platform, and all of our orders from customer go straight through the kitchen. And one of the biggest wins for us is the format in which that goes through. So if you've got a chef in a kitchen, he's not looking at potentially 6 different types of dockets, or how 6 different, people have rang in an order. Everything comes through in the same format. So the efficiencies for our business have been phenomenal. And to be honest, without this element, if we hadn't have embraced this and went with this, we always would have been turning over money, but it would have just been a lot more difficult to do what we were doing. So it's touched on what Mairead was talking about there, where a file took 7 minutes to download, and you can now get that for 40 seconds. It's the same with us, with the stability and our orders coming through. And if a tablet drops out for us during mid-service, we don't have any income and revenue. So that stability that we've been able to gain over the last 6 months has been phenomenal for us.
Excellent. I think that's fascinating that you've moved from a position where technology and online ordering was a small part of the business to one where it was, as you said, 100% of the business for a period. It'll be interesting to see where that settles back down to. But it seems to me that technology is very much at the heart of the business now. I mean, your hospitality business it's fundamentally about food, but technology is enabling that to happen in a very different way. And whilst a lot of these changes maybe initially were seen by businesses in your sector and others as just to get us through the difficulties of the last year, do you see this now as just the way it will be for, there will be lots of choice, lots of options, and technology will be very much at the heart of it?
100%. So in the background, that's from the customer journey. In the background, we've changed everything. We took what I would call downtime. We have changed all of our stock procedures. We've changed everything and brought the whole thing online. So I can now see we relocated our office during the pandemic as well. So I'm now remotely. I am in the shops almost every day, but I don't need to be. At the start of the year, I was able to take some time away and we're able to control the business remotely. I can see every bit of revenue that's coming in through the business. I can see every penny that's spent with a supplier. I can see our wastage. I can see everything. And that is now because we're calling it in the office, like we're working towards what's called a closed loop. And that closed loop for us is just making sure that we have a full picture of the business. And because of how things have been for the past year, my major goal was that we are getting a weekly profit and loss from the business. And the only way that we're able to currently do that is through the technology that we're using. All of the shops are using software. So as the delivery comes in, we can see it. We know exactly what's being spent, what revenue's coming in through the systems and procedures that we've put in place over the last 12 months.
You're talking about closed loops, omni-channel platforms. You're talking like a tech entrepreneur now, Gary, as much as anybody, as well as somebody from the hospitality sector. I mean, so it's been a huge change for you. That can possibly sound a bit, whilst you're talking about the advantages and how this has helped your business not just survive but thrive through a very, very difficult period. For some who are not familiar, and you were probably not familiar with this type of stuff a while ago either, is there what would your message be to other small business owners in the city around making that change, that fear of technology that might be there?
100%, you need to embrace it. I always was quite forward thinking in terms of how we would do things. For example, one of the bottlenecks for me was our till system. Our till system was a friend of mine that previously done it, and the technology just wasn't where we needed it to be, but it was okay. The pandemic forced my hand to make that decision. I've seen now people in glass houses shooting through stones, but I've seen a lot of businesses through this that haven't adapted. They're still, ring us between this time and collect your order at this time and do this. And there's so many platforms out there available that people can bring their business online. I for one, honestly believe that COVID is going to change for a very long time, maybe not forever, but for a very long time, how restaurants do business and how they operate. And I do believe there is going to be, even whenever hospitality opens up to an extent next week, there are still going to be a large percentage of the population that just aren't comfortable to go out yet. We found it previously that a lot of people just aren't ready to go back out into that environment, into a restaurant, into a busy setting. They may go for a cup of coffee during the week, but they're not ready to go and sit in a busy bar on a Saturday night. A lot of those people, even a lot of the older people, like my mother and father, my parents and in-law, they're all now, they understand, the dine at home dinner kit, you can order online, you can book a table online. It has forced technology. Like I can tell you now, QR codes were a thing that never worked years ago. Everybody tried it. And I absolutely now, I don't want to say her age, my mother knows what a QR code is and knows how to operate it, as does my 7-year-old. And it's one of those things that I believe COVID has forced technical innovation. Like Gareth's going to come on and talk later. He is the IT guy, so I'm talking IT, but I genuinely believe COVID has forced this kind of like tech revolution and has probably forced us 20 years ahead. A QR code is nothing new or exciting. It's always been there, but the technology was never embraced. And now it is. Everybody knows how to work it. And that's why I think online's here to stay for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think it's an important point that perhaps in the past we've seen technology maybe as the enemy. Actually it's not. It can be a friend and an enabler. So just finally before going to Gareth, you mentioned it briefly there, but feedback from customers. Have they seen this as a necessary evil that they just have to do in the circumstances, or are they saying, no, look, this is a far better experience, something that we're going to use in the future, and something that they have embraced as well as the business?
In the first lockdown, coming out of the back of the first lockdown, we felt people weren't as willing to embrace things. We done away with paper menus. Everybody was ordering online, direct through the kitchen. There are efficiencies in staffing, but that's, had I tried to do this 2-3 years ago, it would be to try and cut our wage percentage. Now it's a necessity due to social distancing and how things go. And there are some customers in each of our sites. There's customers that are perhaps even now with the outside dining. They're younger, they don't care. You're having to ask them to put on their masks and stuff. But likewise, we can also see the older customer who's happy to come in and they're prepared to try ordering online, etc. And that's given them much more of a confidence. And I think the businesses through all of this that have not just done what they've had to do to get through, the businesses that have went to that extra extent are the businesses that they're going to be at the forefront of people's minds. The businesses that it's for us, and my big driver for the last sort of 6 months has been making it as frictionless as possible for the customers to buy from us. We already know we had really good businesses before COVID, and we know that people want to buy the product that we're offering. Now, through COVID and executive and everybody else, there's a lot of red tape around us selling something as simple as a cup of coffee. It's not just that simple. So for now, we've had to do what we can in the back end. It's, we can cry about it. There's no point crying about it. We just need to make the best of the situation and make it as frictionless as possible for that customer to get a flat white in their hand. And that's all we need to worry about. There's no point in us complaining about anything else that's beyond our control. And we've used online to do that. There's quite a lot of customers before that just wouldn't have bothered doing it. Online is something that we've always had. I know now that the customers that we have, they've now been kind of forced into using it because they wanted the product, will now be customers on that platform because they realize how easy it is.
Perfect. Listen, that's super stuff. If you hang around, and there might be some questions for you later. In fact, if anybody has any questions for Gary or Mairead or Gareth, please put them into this Q&A function at the bottom of the page, or bottom of the screen. Sorry, page. I'm sorry, the page is showing my lack of embracing of technology by calling it a page, but at the bottom of the screen, if anybody has a question, put it in there, and we'll do our best to the guys later. So I'm gonna move now to thanks, Gary. I'm gonna move now to Gareth Macklin. Gareth is the MD of OB Solutions. He's been introduced by Gary as the IT guy. It's conjured up sort of thoughts of him working out of a basement somewhere, but very nice surroundings that he's in there at the moment. Gareth, you run many businesses, lots of things, lots of places people will be familiar with, but you've got your kind of OB hat on today. Maybe you could tell people what OB Solutions does.
Yeah, I'm smiling there because as Gary's introduced me as the IT guy, as many that knows me, as I say, with our family business between sort of healthcare and Malone Lodge Hotel. So I always say I can just about spell IT. So I'm an operator for 20 years. That a bit like Gary, I sort of was forced into innovation. Very simply from Hobby, from today's I think. So CEO and founder of Hobby, which is a online digital platform, which again came out of complete necessity, as Gary says. We were looking for a platform several years ago for our own business. Simply we couldn't find it, we couldn't buy it. So we built it from scratch for ourselves, and then we've spun out into a business sort of from other companies. And very simply, we just take a range of different elements around sort of compliance, safety and productivity, sort of across sort of HR operations and health and safety, and we integrate the whole thing together.
Very good. And the business has been doing, it's a challenging year for everybody in business, some more so than others, but your business has obviously been challenged in the last year too, but it's also created, the business has been doing well, it's created opportunities as well for Huawei, hasn't it? Yeah,
no, very definitely, Simon. You touched there, like today's title obviously about digital connectivity for business recovery. And like from our own side of things, whilst we are very definitely a technology company, and ironically we're a full cloud-based platform, I think from sort of about last April, we were forced into the position that whilst we were probably going along, like the platform itself is fully cloud-based, it's held, and again, all the connectivity is very important in that. But even with that, we still had quite a few, what I would call more traditional business practices. All our team meetings were still sitting face-to-face in the office. all our sales and sales teams were going out to meet clients face to face. Even from a client services, clients were ringing us up, telephone calls. From a rollout perspective, we're going to people's sites. So, like last sort of probably early April, we sat down, and to be honest with you, we probably had that sort of position, like many businesses across the country, that we had to basically make very, very, very quick changes immediately, or otherwise, to just be honest, we probably wouldn't have survived. And as you said there, thankfully, a year later, it's flourished. But some of these changes, particularly from our company coming from a software platform, they seem so obvious now. And you touched on the question there, the guy at the end, about sort of people's question what they would think about technology. But when we look back, some of the things, for example, the days of us selling online, we talked about it as part of our business plan previously, pre-COVID coming in. The thought of not having a Teams call with somebody now, or a Zoom call to demonstrate a product, whether, it's Gary and the likes that wants to show an online digital menu, forgetting the flat white, or us that's rolling out an integrated software platform, has really changed things an awful lot.
When Mairead was talking earlier, she talked about broadband as a piece of essential infrastructure, and Gary talked about, similar terms, if they didn't have gas, they couldn't function, and now it's moved to the position where they can have broadband. For your business, which is kind of less customer facing than Gary's, where people have to come in and buy the product and put money in the till, the last year has been about sort of vacating offices and getting back to, obviously we're looking forward to people coming back into their offices over the next period, but that maintaining business continuity over the past 12, 13, 14 months has been enabled by broadband. And to what extent have you been able to, none of that you're talking about would have really been possible, 5, 10 years ago if we hadn't had the degree of connectivity that we had. And you're telling me previously about members of staff who thought that they might have to move away and therefore not work for the business, and you've been able to continue to keep them employed, keep them working for you, and doing it remotely.
No, totally. Well, look, as we said, to be honest, if you go back probably even as much as maybe 3 years ago, without the sort of connectivity, first and foremost, there is, and the technology support, our business just simply wouldn't exist. We're looking at everything from smartphones through to cloud. And again, I know from our sort of 3 years ago, whenever we were looking from our own core business, from the family business like that, and we've multiple sites across Northern Ireland. Between our head office sits in Belfast, and at that stage 3 years ago, as a business, we have about 650 staff within the Macklin Group. With the IT people coming there talking about cloud, and the conversation like, yeah, it's quite good, but it's not just there and stuff like that. The days of sort of not thinking about putting something in the cloud is just alien, so that advancement of technology, is 100% the reason why Obby's there today. We just couldn't survive without it. And I think, again, Simon, as you said, from the team side of things, and again, as I say, these things that seem obvious now, but in the early stages last year, we had one sort of senior team member, like literally at the middle of it, and everybody's at their own family circumstances, but she had to move out of Northern Ireland very, very quickly because of family circumstances. She came to me and said, look, Gareth, I'm really sorry, I'm probably going to have to leave the company because I have to move across to England. Now, this is before we'd got the teams and structures and bits and pieces in place. And I was like, but why? And ironically, the way that probably sped things up. I said, we're a technology company, we can figure this thing out. Within 48 hours, with the whole thing set up like that, she got on a plane to England, and we actually we're more productive now. Over the last 12 months, we've been able to expand out the team itself. So, we have clients and team members down in the south of Ireland. Just even like last night, for example, like I'm doing pitches this week from a sales perspective. I've been in America twice this week. I've been in the Middle East, and I have a meeting next week in Australia. And as you know, I have a new baby coming within the next couple of weeks. Again, if that was 18 months ago, 24 months ago, either I'm on a plane or going across the team and puts a bit of challenge home, or now I can do the sort of same meetings more effectively and still be home for dinner or that emergency call to go to the Royal.
Right. Well, hopefully you don't get if you get the emergency call in the next couple of minutes, go on, or we'll understand. But hopefully it's all still okay. You maybe get one last question out of you. So the big key theme, really, from what you're saying, is that technology has enabled the business to be created. It has also allowed it to continue through the last year. Broadband has injected a degree of resilience into what Obby does. And I mean, nobody really wants to, obviously it's been an incredibly tough, challenging year, tragic year in so many ways. But, a bit like Gary's business, it has probably catapulted you into spaces that you might have got to eventually, but it might have been a bit slower to do that. And by embracing that change and showing agility and being innovative, businesses probably coming out of what's been a challenging year in a much stronger position. Is that fair to say?
No, definitely. And look, as you say there, for example, one of the big questions you asked at the end of Gary is, for those people that are maybe not embracing it, or just to be honest, like myself, don't know the things, like even to say within the last few months, we've been open up to all this sort of shared different practices. So for example, whilst we've all been doing Zoom and doing meetings, but like all our work practices, for example, like all our document stuff, we've set them cloud-based. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6 team members working on a document at the same time, audit recovery, so you're never losing sheets of paper. And that's not just for a technology business. That can be, for example, the office person sitting on here today that wants to work in a solicitor's practice, say we've got shared documents and previously you're emailing it back to somebody, or you're in a central server. But I think the big bit as well, from the technology side of things, the majority of people sitting here today, we're all business people. We're in business to do what we need to do, and that's ultimately drive the business, look after our team, look after our customers. And as Gary also mentioned, there is so many things out there, whether it be, for example, like one of my favorite pieces of software at the minute, I'm not saying anybody that's not using it, is called Calendly. It's £12 a month, but basically it manages your entire diary in terms of organising. Like I can send a meeting to you now, Simon. You can pick anything on my diary when you want. That, for example, was me ringing you, you ringing me back and forward. So that's a little piece of software through some of the bigger stuff like that. But it's the ability to embrace the technology simply because of the fact it creates efficiencies. As we say in our business, we save time, we save money and mitigate risk. But there's so many things, for example, like even like one of our clients there last year, they did a time and motion study. They cut paper out of the business just in their HR department. They cut £10,500 straight to the bottom line. So whatever business you're in, whatever technology you're using, whether it be, well, look, how long does it take to organise a meeting between me and Simon because we've missed each other 4 or 5 times, through to Gary and the guys looking to order more flat whites or bits and pieces from remote distance. There is definitely technology there. The only thing that I would learn, or say now from sort of learning for the last 4 or 5 years, you have to put a wee bit of investment in the start, particularly from the time side of things, to find what you want. And again, I know on here today, there's a lot of experts who are IT experts, unlike myself, who can sort of guide people through it and help and say, very simply, as an operator, let me understand what your problem is, and then we can find a solution for it. And then the second side of things is that sort of fine line, as all of us, when we're writing a check for whether it be £12 or whether it be whatever, is to say, well, look, rather than looking from a cost side of things, if you understand coming out the other side, look, this is an investment because it definitely will help if you get the right stuff at the start.
Brilliant, thank you. I've heard that much about flat whites now this morning. I fancy one. I might have to head out after this and get one. And thank you, Gareth, for all the very best to the business, and also for the arrival of the new one. If you just hang around, in case there are a few questions for you, but I'm going to go back to Mairead now. Mairead, really positive stories actually from the guys I know, and you know too, that it has been a really tough year, but there is that sort of resilience shining through there, and technology playing a big part of it, broadband at the centre of all of that. I have to say, I feel quite, listening to Gary and Gareth, and they're both infectious characters in terms of, giving you that sense of enthusiasm and driving their entrepreneurs. It makes you feel, positive about the recovery when you hear what they're saying and how they're embracing technology to change and improve their businesses.
Yeah, absolutely, very much so. And so much of what both Gary and Gareth said, I could relate to as well, because although we were building that network or platform from an Openreach perspective, we were almost guilty of not fully utilising its capability ourselves. So we went through that massive transition over the last 12 months as well. I think that everybody does. And there is a bit of self-learning, getting used to things that you have to do on it. And it's funny now, you're looking at life going forward, thinking I want to take the benefits out of this. I don't want to lose what we've learned over the last 12 months or so. And I know in terms of some of the research we had done recently, it was that as businesses and actual users ourselves, we have propelled ourselves forward by about 10 years in terms of how we utilize that fibre platform now, versus our normal growth trajectory that we would be on in terms of getting to know apps and platforms and how to do things. So as business people, we have all moved massively forward over the last 12 months. It's been a huge learning curve.
Can I pick up on something that was, you mentioned the fact that Belfast is the city third most connected in terms of full fibre broadband in the whole of the UK. Talked earlier about how it's businesses like Gareth's that are leading Belfast into the future in terms of it's becoming increasingly a tech city and very digital focused city world-class clusters and things like financial technology and health technology, which we focused on an event a couple of weeks ago, cybersecurity and things like that. So part of the sales pitch that the likes of Invest NI must be using has to include the fact that we do have this robust and resilient broadband network. And is that something that you're working with Invest NI to help to sell Belfast as a place to invest in? And how are we compared? Because we offer a lot to the skilled workforce and lots of other advantages, but how are we comparing then to other cities in terms of who might be trying to secure the same sort of investment and jobs that we are?
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. We are way up there in terms of the league tables of coverage and connectivity in Belfast. We are the third most fibred city in the UK. We're just behind Hull and Milton Keynes. But not only is Belfast sitting there as third, you have Ards and North Down and Antrim and Newton Abbey sitting on fourth and fifth place as well. So that even commuter belt to Belfast is extremely well covered. And you have all the councils in Northern Ireland actually sitting in like the top 50 of right across the UK. And from an FDI perspective and an investment perspective, that's really encouraging. So not only can people come and work in Belfast with great connectivity options, there's also that flexibility there for that hybrid working that we're talking about, so that they can have that same level of connectivity and services from their home as well as from their business premises. And that's really attractive to people at the minute. And it's definitely something that we have been working with Invest NI and some of the other organisations to really push that as an opportunity and to make sure that people are aware of it, and that is something that we can really use to champion Belfast as an area for investment. So
yeah, it's definitely a massive positive for the city. But you mentioned too about £100 million worth of capital investment plan, and obviously it's technology. We've discussed over the past 50 minutes. Technology keeps changing; it's ever changing. There's always new things. So clearly, the same must be the case with broadband investment, that you have to keep investing to stay ahead. And so if we want to not just remain in third place, but actually get above Milton Keynes and Hull and get to the top spot, that type of investment is obviously crucially important to doing that.
It is, absolutely. And I see Northern Ireland having the potential to be that first fully fibred region in the UK. We are on that trajectory. We as a region will be able to make that happen. And that requires investment. This is a massive civil engineering project. So as well as putting in fibre in the ground, there's a huge amount of investment in getting that out there and getting it in. But the great thing about it is once you have the fibre there, that's it future-proofed. So we don't see that we'll be going back and having to change that out anytime in the near future. That will be what the backbone of this for the next 40, 50 years. So there's a big upfront capital investment required to get it out there. But the great thing for businesses and homeowners is that's it done. Then there will be no more having to go out and do that again. So if you do need to upgrade services or get extra bandwidth, it's a phone call and somebody does that remotely for you, which I think is a very, very positive thing as well.
All right, we've got a couple of questions that have come through for you. So the first one's from Julie Galbraith from DWF, a law firm based in the city. And Julie's asking, do owners of commercial properties need to do anything to make sure that their properties are included in the upgrade to full fibre?
Great question, Julie. Thank you very much. There's a couple of points within that one I would probably like to cover off. I suppose the first thing I would do is encourage people to check that their premise might already be enabled or passed for full fibre. So during lockdown, when there was less footfall in the streets, we did manage to actually fibre quite a bit of Belfast and Belfast city centre to try and minimise disruption. So there may be service there already for a lot of businesses and people just might not be aware that it's there. However, if we have not yet got out to your business premise of that, I would encourage you to register your interest for that so that we can add you onto the list of business units or multi-use units that we will get to. So we do have an email address or a website address that you can register on, and it's openreach.co.uk/FTTP for apartments. And we will pick up both apartment buildings and business units as part of that to add it onto the list. Now, I think it's fair to flag or fair to say one of the things that we will require for that is permission to be able to bring the service into the building. So we will need that permissions or wayleaves from the landlord or the building owner to allow that to happen. But absolutely, we would want to make sure that we're picking up as many of the business premises as we can as we're building past them. So please do register interest if that is something that you want. And if you are moving into a new building as well, the earlier you register that interest, we can have that all installed and ready before you actually move in. So it makes it very straightforward. So, and it's one thing we're picking up from a lot of the estate agents and that as well, that is now the key question they get asked. So be it either commercial premise or your own home, when people are looking to move now, that's what they ask: what is the broadband speed? So as well as being useful, it does add value to the building. So I would encourage people to have a look at that one.
That's it's a very good point. That it shows how the world is changing. We have to think about those sorts of things. But another question is from Michael asking about, you mentioned that you're an open access provider, and Openreach has 660 communication providers in the UK using the network, and he's asking how many of those are available in Belfast or across Northern Ireland, and is that something that you're looking, well, you would hope that might increase over time?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a communication provider registers to sell services or use our wholesale network, they register UK wide. So all of those businesses have the ability to sell services in Belfast and Northern Ireland as well. I think in terms of ones that actually have active services in Northern Ireland, we're probably looking somewhere around the mid 300s to 400 mark on that. But what you do find is it's certain service providers provide different services. So some very much focus on selling to businesses and business services. Some are more about the residential packages in terms of your broadband, your TV, your mobile offerings. So it just depends in terms of what some of the service providers offer. But they all have the ability and the system stack that is there, and from our perspective, to sell right across the UK.
And then maybe finally, before we wrap up there, you mentioned about or the video showed as well, and I was looking at the video, and thank goodness the barbers have opened since I appeared in that video. As a great advancement since that period. But the apprenticeships and job creating, I mean, Openreach has been doing a lot of work, and that's bringing a lot of young people in through your apprenticeship scheme. A lot of women as well, and obviously you're a woman at the head of a business and engineering business, which would be traditionally seen as very sort of male dominated, probably still is very male dominated, but apprenticeships is something that is hugely important for bringing young people into the workforce, particularly given the difficult year that it has been and fears around youth unemployment, and how is that helping to change that demographic within the business?
Apprenticeships, I just think, are the most fantastic avenue for bringing people into your business. And I think the great thing over the last couple of years that apprenticeships are starting to come back into vogue again. For a while, people weren't so sure of them. They thought it was like an old school type of thing, but actually they're very much back. And we're seeing that really opening up to such a wide demographic of applicants. So we are seeing many more females apply for it. But also the great thing is it's not age restricted anymore in apprenticeship. You can be an apprentice at any age that you want to be. So we're seeing a lot of people as well going for second, third career type options, or people that have been impacted during COVID, seeing this as an opportunity to totally change their career. So I was out alongside an engineer just earlier this week, and he was telling me he was a chef this time 12 months ago, and he's now installing full fibre broadband for us, for our customers. So it just, for me, changes the dynamic of the business. We have a lovely mix of experience and newness. We have lots of people with 40+ years service and people just in the door and looking to learn. So it's a great dynamic. And I think the thing as well that I love about it is that you have people from the communities working in the communities, and they get a real sense of pride out of that in terms of really feel like you're making a difference. Like it's a nice positive thing to be a part of, bringing that fibre network out to people, because you really feel you are making a difference. So it's really helping us, and that positivity from our own engineers and that word of mouth and recommendation is just encouraging more and more people to apply for it, which is great to see.
Brilliant, that's great. Keep an eye on that chef in case Gary pinches him back into the hospitality sector. So I think that's a really positive note on which to end today's event. I think just leaves it to me to say thank you to Mairead and the team at Openreach for their assistance in making this event possible. If anything that has been said today interests you and you want to connect to the team at Openreach about how you can get full fibre broadband to your premises, by all means contact us at Belfast Chamber, and we will direct you to Mairead and the team at Openreach. Thank you too for all the work that you're doing. I mean, I think the big themes coming through from today are all about how that robust and resilient network that you guys are building is helping to transform businesses right across the leads. I think everybody has maybe perhaps thought that it's just technology businesses that are benefiting from, technology-based businesses, but we've heard great stories from Gary about how hospitality and I know retail as well has been able to pivot into digital direction as well and take advantage of that network you guys built. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And I also thank Gary and Gareth for their time and for sharing their stories. And I'm sure everybody agree that's really inspiring stuff that the two of them talked about, and we're looking forward to seeing their businesses grow and hear a bit more success from both Gary and Gareth in the future. So thank you guys for coming on this morning. And I thank Neil at MD Events for making everything run very smoothly. I just finally thank everybody for attending. We have the third, I'll just point out, we've got the third in our Re-Energising Belfast series, which is delivered in partnership with Cars McDougal. That's next Friday morning, again at 10 o'clock. Focuses on Belfast waterfront area as a destination for living and working and enjoying leisure time. So another interesting, informative and exciting event for you. Also, please go to our website and you can register for that. Just leaves me to say thank you to everybody once again, and look forward to seeing you all very soon again at another Belfast Chamber event. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Bye.
Thank you.